Okay. Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Om. Welcome everyone for, to our Panchadasi. We have seen verse 44 last week. Okay. So we had the topic of the Jiveshwara identity. Okay, Jiva Brahman identity, better say. You are that means you, Jiva, is that Brahman or that Ishwara one, in the language of Shining World. So, and then we covered that paragraph, which was an introduction on this new topic, which is the identity, the identity between you and that. So the practice of Vedanta is keeping in mind both the primary and the secondary meaning of the word I. Remember, we covered that. So you are keeping in mind both, not that you have to remember. So you just relax, and then when Italia scores a goal, you allow your secondary I to jump of happiness and say, yes, we deserve this goal, You know that it's your Jiva, play is stupid because every Jiva is stupid, right, Elizabeth? Okay. So when it's the primary and the secondary meaning of the word I. We take this ostensible meaning to be the original, to be the only meaning. For example, if I say I am fat, I have to understand. This is kind of unconscious discrimination. When we say I am fat, so the Yanni say that, and he knows clearly that he's referring to his food body, your physical body, his gross body. He's trying to say the gross body is fat, but not to embarrass himself or others. He does not go around to the doctor and say, hey, the body, the food body or the gross body is with a problem here. He says, I am with a problem. What is your problem? My problem is in my liver, for example. So that's his unconscious discrimination because the Yanni knows that he's referring to his secondary nature as the body mind. So we do this most of the time. So we say, oh, I am really fat. I have such a tooth pain. I see my neighbor here is suffering of tooth pain. And somehow I know he's not a Yanni. And I know when he says, oh, I am having this terrible tooth pain, I know that the I, he says, refers to the body. And he believes himself to be the body. Therefore, he says, I am the body and I feel tooth pain, tooth ache. You understand? So it all depends on our standing. If we stand in awareness or awareness or on the body as the body, and then we're going to be referring to our primary nature or secondary nature when we speak. And sometimes you are Yanni and you use the word I referring to your secondary nature. So this discrimination sometimes is difficult because the word I is more or less a constant presence in the mind, and the speech, in mind and speech, it is nicely covered by ignorance. The mind and the speech is often clouded by ignorance. So it becomes difficult to do this discrimination. You understand? Because we are under pressure. That we have Rajas and Tamas, giving us trouble. And sometimes when we are too rajasic, for example, even if we know who we are, we may stumble on some rajas, and then we for a moment we refer the I to the body, you know, and say, oh, please, you know, don't kill me. You know, have you imagine a situation, a Yanni is there, and then come the mother is going to kill the Yanni, and the Yanni has a moment of a video in his mind. They say, oh no, please don't kill me, you know. So that would be the ultimate bluff, let's say, you know, ultimate falsity, you know, a guru who is a famous guru in the last moment say, don't kill me. So ignorance is always around the corner because, as we know, our intellect configured by sattva, rajas, and tamas. And sometimes, you know, when we least expect, we may have a lapse of memory in regards to our true nature. But what is the difference? The Yanni say, oh, please don't kill me, don't kill me. And then immediately it regroups itself, recomposes itself and say, oh no, man, you cannot touch me. You remember the story of Christ? Oh Lord, oh Father, you have, you know, abandoned me here on this cross and people are touching me to death. You know? And then in the next moment, he just, you know, he just recomposed himself and he says, so never mind, these people are ignorant. They do not know what they are doing and they do not know that they can hurt me. You understand? So these things are possible. Remove the parts from Jiva and you are left with awareness. Remove the parts from Ishvara and you are left with awareness. So as we know, Ishvara is consciousness, highly influenced by sattva. We say that Ishvara is pure sattva, but actually below the line of Maya, there is no something such as purity in regards to the three gunas. There is always some mixture. That's why the scriptures say sattva pradana prakriti, means to say uma predominância de sattva is what produces Ishvara, a very extensive predominance of sattva produces Ishvara. Therefore, Jiva and Ishvara, you know, their consciousness associate with certain compositions, certain proportions of the three gunas, you know, and Ishvara being a highly predominance of sattva guna in the macrocosmic reflecting medium, and that produces Ishvara. And the Jiva is a highly dominance or proportion of Rajaguna that's going to produce the body mind of the Jiva. And we know that the material universe is just consciousness associated or just shining, you know, or reflected in Maya when it's this reflecting medium is more dominated by Tamas. There is a higher proportion of Tamas. So that is the technical explanation we find on the scriptures. It's not really important in the sense it's not really absolutely relevant as far as self-knowledge, you know, but it is a good explanation. You know, we look from different angles and I find the theories of how the universe comes into existence, beginning from these three energies that brings about Ishvara, Shiva, and Jagat. I find it the most elegant of all philosophies, you know, and the most impeccable and difficult to debate, you know. I mean, you have to be a great philosopher to fight with the logic presented by Vedanta, by the Upanishads, you know. But philosophers can fight any argument, you know, because the nature of philosophy is just to use reason and logic, no, just to have good arguments. The 45 says, when the self is under the spell of avidya, ignorance, which is ignorance, it associates with rajas and tamas and becomes a jiva. As a jiva, the self or consciousness, under the spell of avidya, pursue objects of desires by means of various activities. So that is a nice way of putting it. So consciousness, under the spell of Maya, produce the Jiva, and the Jiva exists within a state called Avidya, which is due to Rajas and Tamas, overcrowding or over covering or superimposed or over included in Sattva, because Sattva is a clear mirror that produce pure knowledge and clarity. But Rajas and Tamas are going to somehow, conceal and project, and then our human intellect is suffering of a certain mental illness called avidya. Avidya is a mental illness, okay, due to rajas and tamas. So when we are suffering from avidya, we experience ignorance, and then what we do, we associate with rajas and tamas, we become ignorant, and then we pursue objects of desires, doing all kinds of activities, all kinds of activities. We do verbal, mental, physical, all kinds of activities, just try to gain, accomplish, something that we believe that is going to resolve our mind and leave us at peace, at tranquility, at clarity. Everybody likes to be at peace. Have you ever thought that there is no happiness better than peace? Huh? We think about happiness as something like, oh yes, I love happiness. Yes, yes. The Upanishad says that everything we do is for the sake of happiness. Huh? And then you say, yes, but I want happiness. Oh, yeah, but happiness is not in the object. Okay, and then I go inside within and I want to find happiness. And we are still looking for a certain kind of happiness that's going to make us, happy, excited, vibrant, But the true happiness is shanti, peace, peace. Peace is the mind which is resolved, resolve knowing that there is nothing to be desired and nothing to be rejected. So this is peace. This is what human beings love the most. We don't love the excitements of gaining things. I mean, you probably heard me telling the joke about how dangerous it is to succeed. Sometimes people, they win a lottery ticket and they die of a heart attack. Huh? You heard me saying that story, huh? Maybe more than once. Huh? So the guy, he gets this money, millions of dollars, and the family say, how are we going to tell him now? Tell the doctor to tell him. The doctor has been taking care of his heart for 50 years. He's going to know how to convey father with the fact that he finally gained the ticket, the lottery ticket. He won. And then the doctor say, oh, leave it to me, man. I'm cool. I know how to deal with such situations. Then he goes there and start going round and round and say, so you are good, your heart is good, and life is good. But I know you play the lottery for your entire life. So, and if you would gain, millions of dollars and this and that, what you would do? And then he say, well, you know what? The doctor knows that he won and he has to go easy on the older guy because the older guy has a bad heart condition. And then the doctor tell him, so what you would do if by any chance you would win those $20 million, from last week? And the old man, the sick man say, you know what? You are my good friend. I'm going to tell you the truth. You have been taking good care of me, of my heart. I would give half of it to you. And then the doctor had a heart attack and died on the spot. Why? Because happiness is not the deal. The good deal is not happiness, it's peace, Right, Elizabeth? Okay. We pursue desire, objects of desires by means of all kinds of activities. You, in the statement, you are that refers to the Jiva. Huh? So Jiva is referred to you. This body-mind complex, this sentient being, is that pure, limitless consciousness, existence. So Ishvara is awareness associated with Sattva. Jiva is awareness associated with Rajas and Tamas. So Jiva is awareness, reflecting a subtle body in which there is excess of Rajas and Tamas, producing this samsara psychological, mental, emotional phenomenon. The sense of incompletion, inadequacy, and desires and fears for objects. So this is Jiva. Jiva is under the pressure, under the inclusion in his mental conditions of rajas and tamas. Whereas Ishvara is just consciousness shining in pure sattva, or as pure as possible, to produce pure knowledge, pure clarity, pure intelligence, the intelligence that projects, sustains, maintains, and recycles, destroys, recycling everything from moment to moment, applies all the laws, and that Ishvara keeps this universe in balance. And as we know, we remove the gunas from Jiva and Ishvara. How are you going to remove the gunas from Ishvara? You're just going to understand. You remove in your intellect. If Ishvara would have no sattva guna, and then Ishvara would be non-existent. No, Ishvara would be free, limitless consciousness, its true nature. You understand? So Ishvara would not go anywhere. That's why sometimes we see this confusion between Ishvara 1 and Ishvara 2. That's why in some passage we say Ishvara is just like Brahman, because it's pure sattva. It's the primary manifestation of pure consciousness. You understand? And when you remove that guna, Ishvara is there as Brahman. And in the case of Jiva, we have to remove what? We have to remove the three gunas. And then the Jiva is very happy to say, oh, yes, please, remove these rajas. It has been giving me so much trouble, And then the Jiva say, yes, it's so stressful, and I suffer of anxiety and panic attack, and all because of this stress of rajas. Remove it. And then the Lord says, okay, I'm going to remove, but don't blame me afterwards. And then he removed rajas from the Jiva. And then what happens to the Jiva, Karen? The Jiva becomes very lazy. He does not do anything. He does not want to get out from bed. He has no motivation, not even to search self-knowledge or become spiritual. And then the Jiva is really depressed, totally conditioned by pure tamas over superimposed sattva. And then he says, please, Ishvara, remove tamas now. And then Ishvara, okay, I'm going to remove tamas, but this is not going to solve your problem. What do you mean? It's not going to solve your problem. I will do it, but don't blame me at the end. And then the Lord goes and removes tamas, and then Jiva becomes very, very happy in a cage of gold. He is going to be bound to sattva, which is one of the most subtle cages, because one becomes clear, one becomes peaceful, but one remains peacefully ignorant of one's true nature. So we have to negate, reject, remove all the three gunas of the Jiva in our discriminating process, so that we can come down to the basis. I am, pure, limitless consciousness. Verse 46. When the three gunas are rejected as apparent realities, the self alone remains. The self's nature is existence, awareness, and bliss. This is revealed by the statement, you, Jiva, is that limitless self. So when the three gunas are rejected as apparent reality, so how are we going to see the gunas if the gunas are so subtle? It's the building. They are the building blocks of the creation of the universe. Everything, the five subtle elements comes from these three gunas, three energies, you know? So these three qualities, these three gunas, they are so subtle. They are the cause of the subtle body and the physical body. Yet Vedanta invites us to discriminate and reject the three gunas. So the three gunas must be rejected. How? As apparent realities. Okay? I can't see it, but I understand it. I can feel its effects. What do you mean? I feel the effects of each one of these energies because sometimes I feel very clear. I feel like I am a genius. You know, I am so smart and I'm so pure and so clear. And sometimes I feel like I'm a disaster. I'm stumbling and doing all kinds of stupid things because I'm overexcited. So I'm confused about who I am. I am the wise or I am the overactive, overexcited one, you know? And sometimes I experience Tamas and my mind is very depressed and I have no desire to do anything. So I can relate to these three gunas by understand how it affects my body mind because we can notice on the physical level as well when our body, our physical body is more rajasic, more tamasic, and more sattvic. Huh? So sattvic body does not like to do many things. And the tamasic body does not like to do many things. And then we could we could adapt to that sattva and tamas. Sattva equal tamas because a tamasic body does not like to do many things. A sattvic body does not like to do many things. And then tamas equal sattva. But is it the case? No, it's not. Huh? Because the peace of sattva, an individual, body, mind, under, under the influence of sattva is peaceful, but it's a very, very alive, clear, and and radiant peace. You know, it is there just sitting, just like Ramana Maharaj. He was very lazy, as it seems. Now he would just stand up to have a quick go to the mountain, and then he would come back to his bed. No, but when he used to sit look into space, so he was vibrant, you know, he was illuminating the mind of everybody around himself. Huh? Whereas those those sadhus on Production Road in Tiruvannamalai, they are so tamasic. They are there doing nothing, not moving. Most of the time they are lying horizontally and they are just tamasic, you know. They don't shine with radiance, you know, with beauty, clarity, amazing sights, and so on. So it is a difference, okay? But yet we can experience the influence of these three gunas in our body, physical body, and subtle body. So it's more, maybe it's more, the body mind complex, the subtle body, and the physical body is one single organism. So it's we can experience in both levels the influence of these three gunas. Therefore, we have a certain knowledge of these gunas because they influence the way we think, the way we feel, the way we do things, and the way we deal with the results of our actions. So, therefore, we want to discriminate and reject the three gunas as the cause of the subtle and the physical body. We reject them as not self, as apparent reality. And then we assert, again, affirm with full conviction that the self alone is the only reality. And then we say to myself, because I have understood the very nature of the self. We know the self has no attributes and qualities and properties, but the self in its nature, there is very little we can really say about the self, and we say that it's Satchitananda, existence, consciousness, and limitlessness. Existence, consciousness, and limitlessness. And this is revealed by the Upanishads, with the statement, the Mahavakya coming at the end of the Vedas, which says, Tattvamasi, you are that Brahman, you are that limitless consciousness. The three gunas can be rejected as the not self. The three gunas can be rejected as the not self. It's not self or the self. The self is wrong, huh? If you reject as the not self or reject as the self. Which one is the best way to say, Mark? Both?
Reject it as a not self, I think.
Yeah, it would be better.
Three gunas are the not self.
Yeah, the three gunas can be rejected as the not self because they are non-essential attributes. They are the non-essential attributes of our being, of what we are. What is the essence of my human experience? Okay, the three gunas, these energies that influence my body and my mind, they are colored by Maya. They are non-essential attributes. Therefore, they change. They are in constant flux of change. Therefore, they are objects. And how I know they are objects? Because now I got smart enough to objectify them. Now I have an eye, I have a finger on them. I can know when they come. Oh, there comes Mrs. Tamas. Oh, there comes Mrs. Rajas. So I can objectify these guys, Therefore, they are objects. And I can therefore say that they are the not self. The rejection of the gunas boils down to nothing more than knowing that one's states of mind are objects, of course. So the body, when the body is tamasic, we say, okay, this is an object because we more easily objectify our tamasic body. But when our mind is tamasic, we, being smart Vedantins, we know, okay, this tamasic mind, is an object. What do you mean? Yes. I mean, I'm not my mental condition. I'm the knower of the mental condition of this body mind. So we know, and we know that's an object because it is known by me, it's perceived by me, it is experienced by me. And then we need to understand what is this me. Now, if I can identify these energies coming and changing my mind one after the other, and I say they are objects because I am the knower, they are seen by me, they are experienced by me. And then the next thing we need to understand is the definition of this me, right? Right, Karen? Yeah, because as we know, if we say, no, I am the sattvic intellect, I am the sattvic intellect. And then we have to say, no, 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 no. Sattvic intellect is sattva guna. So again, you are aware that the intellect is sattvic. So it is a quality. The intellect is always under the spell of these three gunas. So therefore, the intellect cannot be the me, the ultimate knower. So I am the real knower, that which does not change, that which cannot be objectified, but objectifies everything, including the mental conditions of the intellect, right? The three gunas can be reject. They are subject to constant change. Oh my God, and how do they change? As I was saying before, we can sense sometimes rajas is growing, especially if we drink too much coffee, and then the rajas start picking up, and then the mind becomes disturbed, and then you begin to experience too much excitement, adrenaline, and irritation sometimes, and then you, okay, I drank some water, now rajas has come down, and then let me eat something here. And when you see Tamas start approaching, So there's no way we can having control over these three energies, We do our best. As Vedantins, it's said that our intermediary goal should be to cultivate and maintain a predominance of sattva guna operating in our intellect. Why? Sattva guna has to be rejected at the very end, okay? But I need to have a sattvic intellect so that I can reject even sattva guna, right? So we need a sattvic intellect so that I can reject not only tamas and rajas, but sattva, and know that I am the knower of those three energies. If I see, know, experience something, it's me. If I see, know, or if I experience something, it's me, but I'm definitely not it. Okay, so this is a way of saying that everything that happens within the scope of my conscious awareness. Nothing escapes conscious existence. Everything is not apart from my consciousness. If I see something, this thing that I see resolves itself in myself, the only reality. But I consciousness, I am never limited to any one of these things that I see and perceive. So that's what it means. Here is an example of discrimination between awareness and the gunas. Avidya calls Jiva to identify with the guna predominating in the mind at any time, any given time. If tamas is predominant, one will say, I am dull and sleep and depressed, and lazy. Yeah? I am a procrastinator. If I am under the spell of too much rajas, if I have too much rajas predominating my intellect, I will feel like, oh my God, this life is so exciting, and I'm so agitated, and I'm just going and get it. I'm going to. Nobody can stop me. I'm go-getter. I can accomplish anything in the world. And then Ishwara comes in between and he says, "What? You were deluded. I am the Lord here delivering everyone's prabhada karma. You succeed only if I say you deserve to succeed. You get only if I say you deserve to get what you want." And then the poor Rajasic Jiva, after being so agitated, so excited, so full of self-confidence, crashes and feels frustrated. And frustration often turns into irritation, and irritation turns into anger, you know. And then what we do, we start kicking the doors like I did 30, 40 years ago. And then I hurt my foot, you know, because I was not getting what I want. I mean, we can do stupid things to that extent, you know. I give shoot on the door, a kick on the door. I said shoot or kicking. And how about sattva? If sattva predominates, I will say, I am peaceful, clear, pure, wise, you know, I am the avatar, you know. So this is sattva guna speaking. If we identify the self with any one of the three gunas, you know, we are going to be identify the self with the unreal, and we're going to be up for great disappointment because anything that changes does not represent reality. Reality is that which is always present as the light of the illuminator and never changing in degree, intensity, or in any form, never modifying to any experience, never producing more light, less light. It illumines everything indiscriminately. Okay? So if I'm changing intensity, or sometimes I'm more bright with my sattva, less, and then more rajasic, you know, and then rajas turns and becomes tamas. So if those things are changing altogether or changing intensity, it cannot be the self. And that's where the spiritual seeker falls in delusion. You understand? And many times they crash and they feel really, really, you know, close to want to give up. You know, I have done everything. Now I became very wise, very sattvic, very silent. And then down the road, somehow the Lord made me understand that that's not the self. You understand? Because the self is not subject to change. These states, they are variations of different attributes. The self do not actually experience, you do not actually experience yourself as coming into and going out of existence when the gunas change. So when we see the gunas change, we don't experience that I am changing with the gunas. Now, this is a nice, a nice logic, not a nice reasoning. When we experience the gunas and we see that the gunas change, let's suppose I'm very sattvic, and then I start turning very, very tamasic, and I have said, oh, I am the clarity and the peace and the wisdom of sattva. And then when sattva begin turning to rajas, and then do I feel that I lose my existence as sattva turns into rajas? No. What happens is that sattva change, disappears to give room to rajas. And I do not change. What do you mean you do not change? No, I am the seer of the change. I see things appearing and changing. I don't go out of existence with the going out of existence of the sattva in my mind. The mind lost its sattva, and I did not lose in my existence. The existence of sattva has given existence of sattva, of rajas. But I remain unchanging as the light illumining and revealing those changing phenomena. You experience the gunas appearing, disappearing in you. So you are the seer, the knower. Maya makes you ignore your actual experience of yourself and take the discrete experience you have at any moment to be you. How nice, huh? Maya somehow extroverts the mind through these five sense organs of experience, going out into the world through these channels, connecting with its objects. So Maya extroverts our mind and then makes us fascinated by the experience, by the discrete experience, and makes us blind to the experience of the light, of the illuminator, that which is the only principle or factor, always constant and never change. But somehow Maya makes us to neglect or to ignore that which is the most common experience, illumining all our discrete experience. Isn't it amazing? You get that, Lynn? It's very simple, huh?
It's very subtle.
And very simple, isn't it? It's subtle, but it's simple.
Yeah, subtle and simple go together.
Yeah. like Ramji likes to say, it's very simple. Papaji used to say, so simple. Huh? And Ramji often says, it's simple, but not necessarily easy. And it's not necessarily easy because of Maya. Maya produced this extroversion that somehow prevents us from seeing the experience of the illuminator illuminating the objects we experience. We cannot, this famous exercise, so when we see a hand, we see a hand, but we see something else with the hand, right? Does everybody know what we see here in my hand? I'm not hiding anything here. Do you know what we see here? You know, Elizabeth?
Yes, we see also the light.
The light, okay? But in most cases, people do not see the light because somehow we have fascination for objects and we never see the subject, the light of consciousness, that which illumines and reveals the object. That is the subject that illumines the object. So instead, Maya, makes this obstruction, makes it somehow, it conceals us these most obvious things and projects our energy, our attention to the object, and then we end up doing what? We take the objects of experience to be myself. The sense of self we have is a collection of our experience. All our experience, our sense of I, of identity, is wrapped around all this experience that it's our life history. This is what I am. All my experience. These people that sometimes you get in contact and you did not know him, you did not know her, and then you get to know them, and then slowly there is a little bit more of friendship, and then they want to tell their story. And as we know, it's something very, very boring. But people want to introduce themselves by telling their stories. Yeah, no, you get to know me, man. So come here. Because I'm gonna show you who I am, my story. Pa, 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 Because people believe that I am my experience. My experience defines myself. My experience defines myself. And I am the knower of all this experience, and I'm defining myself as the experience. There was a time I used to try to cut this pedantic conversation short. I would say, oh, discrimination is just discriminate you, the self, you from your experience. Get over it. Discriminate you from your experience on all levels. And all past experience as well. Discriminate those ones that are still held in the causal body as subtle impressions, defining our sense of limitless self as a limit jiva, that is never really happy about oneself. The verse 47. Anybody to say anything? We don't have Dave today, so we still have Claudio. Claudio is our second inquirer or questioner or objector. Now, David is the real objector, huh? But Claudio is a questioner. But if you have any questions or any comments or contributions, feel free to interrupt me. So unconscious discrimination, the verse 47. In this sentence, this is that Devadatta. This guy is that Devadatta. This person is that Devadatta. This and that refer to different time, place, and circumstance. How nice. Huh? This is that Devadatta. So there is Devadatta, which points, refers to a body-mind complex, a person, an individual. This Devadatta is an individual. But when you say this is that Devadatta, this and that refer to what? To the essence of this individual on different times, in different place, and different circumstances. That Devadatta I met before was 18 years old. I met at the college. And it was young and it was beautiful, radiant, energetic. And now, 50 years later on, he's a 70 years older man. He's 50 years older. He's a 70 years old man. And now we say, that Devadatta is this Devadatta. Ah, okay. Oh, this Devadatta is that Devadatta. Oh, man, I would never imagine. When you meet somebody after many, many years, I mean, the Facebook gives us this shock sometimes. The other day, somebody was telling me that, oh, I know a friend of yours, and she has been posting something in the YouTube about the old days with Osho Rajneesh in Pune. So somebody that I knew 35 years ago or 40. And then I knew her, and then I said, oh, yeah, that woman from that state. Yes, I know her. Okay. And then go there. And then I did not go there. And then they sent me the link again and again. And then I went to see. I was like, geez, this is her? I can't believe it. The picture I have on my mind was a very young and beautiful woman. And now that woman is this woman. Yes. And then I say, oh my God, I better go and take some old pictures of mine from 4 years ago. And then I will understand the nature of time. And then I went there, look at my pictures 4 years ago, and I look at myself in the mirror. Okay, now I understand time, So this is that Devadatta. This and that refer to different times, different place, and different circumstance. So when the particular time, circumstance, and place of that Devadatta and this Devadatta are reject, what we have? We have the essence of Devadatta. Yeah? We have the essential nature of Devadatta. When we remove the non-essential attributes, when we remove the aspects, the different times, place, and circumstance that somehow are coloring the essence of the Devadatta. And the essence of the Devadatta is not his or her mind either. Because sometimes I meet people from the past, you say, okay, it's understandable. Time has a toll on the physical body. I say, this is that. Yes, this is that. But how about the subtle body, the mind? And then when you look at the mind, the person became another person. You cannot see the age of the mind. You see the change of the mind. The mind now is a conglomeration of more notions, more ideas, more conclusions, more experience, and more beliefs. And when you see it, say, oh my God, this person did not believe to think that way, Or maybe you look and say, oh my God, I used to think on those lines. And it means I have changed so much that I do not relate with this subtle body anymore, with this mind anymore. Huh? So the mind also changed. So when we reject these particulars of this and that, when the non-essential attributes of the younger body and the older body, when the non-essential attributes of the mental construct of the younger person, the mental construct of the older person, then we got down to the sense of both, a sense of this and that Devadatta. Does it make sense, Karen? So we remain as that common ground of being, that common ground of being. That ground of being is there, and all chains are being superimposed on this beingness, this self. And here comes the story. There are two friends, Devadatta and Somadatta. They meet after a long time. Somadatta saw a large gathering listening to a discourse given by an unknown monk. So he sat down and listened. I know this analogy, this story, but it's a little bit different. So Ramji has made it different here, He made it a nice story. He gave his signature. He says that two friends, Devadatta and Somadatta, they meet after a long time. Somadatta saw a large gathering listening to a discourse given by an unknown monk. So he sat down and listened. After a while, he was struck when he discovered that serene-looking orange robe, beard monk, Swami Guhananda, was none other than his old, fun-loving high school friend, Devadatta. He was completely transformed by time. I think Ramji was inspired on who he was before he became the Vedanta teacher, So how can that guy be this guy now, How come this James become that James? Huh? So with the realization that serene look, orange robe, beard monk has become Swami Guhananda, Devadatta, much transformed by time and experience, he became wise and he became a famous guru, a Swami, and hopefully honest and valid guru, of course. So then transformation happened in a positive way. The time, the name, the body, condition, circumstance of his friend's appearance were different. But by eliminating the difference between the old Devadatta in the new Devadatta, he realized the oneness, the essential nature of his friend, and the essential nature of this new Devadatta, the Guru, is the same. No? So the essential nature is the same. The apparent nature is much different, you know. Anything about that? So it says much about our own process, because when we look back and we see all the change that take place, you know, as we age, decades after decades, I don't mean only the physical body, but in terms of wisdom, in terms of our inner peace, you know, so in terms of our knowledge, regards, in terms, in terms of how we feel about ourselves, and the way we have become more balanced, you know, more more sensitive, more peaceful, more loving person, you know, we see the change, yeah? And then we have to see, okay, but this change does not represent what I really am. You know? We may say, okay, I am this better aspect of me, this better version of me, because now I'm older and I'm wiser. You know, people come to me to get advice and so on. Huh? They say, no, no, you have to reject this Devadatta, that young and unwise Devadatta, and discover the essential nature of both as the same. You remember when you were a little girl, Lynn? Those two little eyes looking out into the world and the experience, you know, yeah, all the universe around us and experience our sense of existence. And if you stop to recall that experience, you will see that the experience you have nowadays is the same. You know, is this light shining through our sense organs and touching the world of objects and gives us a sense of existence as an individual. The verse 48, similarly, when the apparently conditioning adjuncts, similarly, when the apparently conditioning adjuncts, Maya and Avidya, are removed, the self alone remains. The nature of the self is existence, consciousness, and bliss. Again, Vidyaranya presents Satchitananda as the nature of the self, because there is nothing more we can say about the self, because it has no qualities. If something, you can only talk about the self by pointing to its nature. Why? Because it has no qualities. There is no properties. There is nothing that can allow us to say, oh, the self is like this, the self is like that. Oh, the self feels this way, the self feels that way. This is not the self. This is the mind having its experience. Yeah? So the self has no characteristics and attributes and qualities. Therefore, we can only refer to the self by pointing out to the nature of the self as revealed by the scriptures. You know, Satchitananda, the self is limitless conscious existence. Similarly, when the apparent condition adjuncts, the limiting adjuncts, Maya limits the self, and Avidya limits the Jiva. Maya is going to limit the self, making the self appears, as Ishvara, and then Maya is going to limit the Jiva, who is not only Sattva, but with Rajas and Tamas, making the Jiva to feel ignorant of everything and most important of its very nature. So we need to remove cognitively these limiting adjuncts superimposed by Maya, and Ishvara to create Avidya, this phenomenon on the Jiva. So we remove Maya and Avidya, and the self alone remains. The nature of the self is Satchitananda. You, consciousness, are beyond the creator and the Jiva. Consciousness is you, and you are beyond. Beyond is a trick word. So you are something other than Ishvara and Jiva and Jagat. You are something other than the creator and the creation and the agent designed to experience the creation. You are the substratum. You are that which pervades those three factors and illumines and reveals. How you illumine and reveal? You just produce the jivas, and then you illumine the mind of the jiva, the intellect of the jiva, and makes the jiva the knower, the seer of the universe, the seer of the field of action and experience. You, consciousness, are something other than Shwara, Jiva, and Jagat. The variable factors are the subtle body and the causal body. The subtle body refers to the reflecting medium that brings about the jiva. You are something other. And the variable factors are the subtle body and the causal body that brings about Jiva and Ishvara, the creator. The subtle body makes consciousness appear as the Jiva, and the causal body makes consciousness appear as God, Ishvara, the creator. How nice, huh? Those are limiting adjuncts, Maya and Avidya. So the next topic in our text is manana, resolving doubts. There will be a lot of questions. When Vidyaranya presents his objectors, usually they are difficult objectors. So those guys that all the time find some fault or something to challenge the scriptures, the logic presented by the scriptures. Well, and Vidyaranya often plays with it, going quite deep, into the logic presented by the objector. And we need to understand that if sometimes these Q&As, they are very complex, it is only to help people with very complex ignorance, complex mind, complex questions, people who are really hard cases, as we say in the USA. So if you are really hard, your mind is going to be fighting the scriptures, and you don't give up, you don't easily develop shraddha in the scriptures, and you keep coming back to present doubts and trying to find faults and defects. I have one guy in Vedanta, Brazil, that he came, he participated, and then he began misbehaving, being a little bit disrespectful here and there. And then the group decided to block him for some time. And then about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, he wrote me a beautiful letter saying that I understood that was all my ego. Please allow me back. I am good now, and I'm going to behave And I'm not your student. I don't need your teacher, but I really appreciate to be back. I say, of course, be our guest. I'm very happy to have you back because he has so much academic knowledge. He knows so many scriptures. He is really a pandit, you know, a scholar. He studies everything, and these guys are very difficult to handle. I was happy that somehow Shwara helped me to handle him nicely. And he came back, and he was behaving very nice, very nice. I told him, "You're going to participate to our class, but you cannot ask questions for a few months. You have to listen only." Okay, and he was behaving, and then one day I say something that he did not like. You know, I behave in a certain way. I said something in a certain way that he did not like. And I was thinking that he was developing Shraddha, trust in the scripture and in myself as the teacher, as the link. Maybe he is developing trust in me as well now. And then I say something, and that was enough for triggering his doubt, you know, and he blew it, and he disappeared, you know. And again, he was waiting for an opportunity to just again his ego, you know, his ego as an objector to come up and say, no, I don't trust this guy, and so on. And there he went again. So let's see if he's coming back soon again. Some of these guys keep coming back again, you know. I never close the door to them. Okay, my friends, anything else? Claudio, you are not looking very sleepy today.
Yeah, incredible. I don't know why. I was expecting to be very tamasic. I don't want tamasic tonight. So
yeah, you are looking good.
strange.
Alert. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my friends. Love you. See you soon again. Ishwara Willi. Namaste. Arrivederci. Viva Italia! Yoo-hoo!
Ciao, ciao. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Avidya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.